Oh hey, didn't see you there. Well, with 2023 behind us, I thought it'd be fun to look back on what anime the year gave us. And since it is still early January, I still have time before we get back into the swing of things. Yep, early January. The anime of 2023 was some of the craziest, funniest, most breathtaking tales we've seen of the decade yet, while also simultaneously being filled with uninspired knockoff stories that barely made it out of the 2010s. However, regardless of your personal feelings on certain shows or the like every other evolving medium, the progression of trends, tropes, and storytelling was quite interesting to see in all of the year's anime. Well, at least I assume. I didn't watch them all. Yep, despite being someone who pretty much eats up anime like I was Terraria and all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet, I just didn't get to them all. There were some that just didn't interest me, or I didn't have the time, and some I'm just not caught up with, which is a cardinal sin in itself according to the 10-week commandments. Now, as a person who has obligations outside of the screen, this is perfectly fine, I tell myself. You can't be expected to watch every episode of every show and still live on as a working adult. It's that triangle of 3 choices and you can only choose 2. I'm my firstborn child, why don't you? But as a proud weeb, and don't worry, I say that with a lot of self-awareness, and a former gifted child who is told to accomplish more than I'm capable of, I hold my head in shame. So I'm only gonna talk about the ones I did watch, because it wouldn't be fair nor make any sense to talk about the ones that I didn't watch. But don't worry, I did see a variety of anime all year, so maybe it'll be a fun game to guess which ones I did see and which ones I didn't. After all, I did see all 2 genres, isekai and non-isekai. I'm also not going to talk in length about new seasons of anime, though I did watch those too. While they are just as important to the anime zeitgeist, explaining the continuation of a story rather than the initial parts to them without input on my respective thoughts of said initial parts honestly isn't my style. But that's not to say I'm above it either. So instead, allow me to briefly talk about them. Dr. Stone returned with Season 3 with a trip around the world, while Bofuri's second season had them return to the same old VR world with a petrifyingly stagnant sequel. Speaking of other worlds, By the Grace of the Gods and Kuma 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 Bear's respective second seasons prove that lightning doesn't strike twice, and it's arguable that they even struck once, because, by God, they were boring, reaching a point to question how both they and I even got here. Curse my need for terrible isekai trash. Inversely, Endless of Shadow's second season was anything but boring, showcasing how entertaining intentionally bad writing and probably unintentionally poor pacing can make even the dumbest of plots stand out, good or bad. Tanjiro Kamado continued being a demon slayer while Nayo Mukai continued being a thought slayer, and to some people these are unironically the same thing. And lastly, Spy Family's second foray into the airwaves was met with a resounding neato. While I love the manga and its balance of comedy and tightrope mystery, admittedly, I think the continuation was perfectly serviceable. The animation's great, the acting's phenomenal, and the story's fine, but overall, it all culminates in a good adaptation. It might be a mix of how it's leveled with the current landscape of its contemporaries, as well as good but safe writing and pacing. Frankly, it probably would have been another show I'd skip and binge later. So why am I talking about it in such great length? Frankly, the opening is probably the best of the year, and that's saying a lot considering the competition. The fuck, Crunchyroll? I mean it. Everything is animated so dynamically. It's not surprising as it was directed by Masaki Yuasa. There is so much impressive movements from the energized tumbles to the subtle but technically amazing beats of the Forger family. And of course, you can't forget the music. No, seriously, you can't. Not only is it incredibly catchy, but the singer is a powerhouse in imprinting her vocal range in your brain. Most people who come into contact with Ato's voice are left questioning 2 things. How can someone be so goddamn talented? And how a singing voice can make someone question their own sexual identity. Now, I've never seen an image of Ato before, but I'd like to imagine that she looks like this. Doesn't quite answer the sexual identity question, but some questions are best left unanswered. By the way, while Ando does deserve praise for her voice and probably great looks, the band's no slouch either. Rather, there's no way you can call them that. The song was composed by Yoko Kanno. Yes, that Yoko Kanno. And you guessed it, the musical accompaniment are the seatbelts.
No way.
And I could go on and on about how nearly perfect this opening was, but that's not what we're here for. Maybe another day. But for now, we'll have to make like a semi-attractive woman in her late 30s who is waiting for the right man and settle. So this is my 2023 in anime. Winter started off much like winter itself, cold, dry, and giving me arthritis every other day. Or if you're in the southern hemisphere, lukewarm, arid, and giving me a migraine the other days. I might just have to see a doctor. The angel next door spoils me rotten turned out to be more like the angel next door puts up with my shit. As, yeah, the chemistry between the two leads is closer to that of the Flintstones rather than the Fredricksons. Endo and Kobayashi Live was a sort of isekai, as two kids who do let's plays without the recording equipment peer into what seems to be a living visual novel, with the commentary altering the other world they thought they knew. Yeah, I guess when you do think about it, gaming's just another subgenre of voyeurism. In terms of full isekai, there were plenty to fill the bins, like campfire cooking in another world, farming life in another world, handyman Saito in another world, and the reincarnation of the strongest exorcist in... Oh, come on! Look, I know isekai's not exactly the most creative of genres, but could you at least use different synonyms for another world? Do you guys not know what the source is? Whatever. What's the next show? Saving 8,000 gold in another world. Uh-huh. For my retirement. Whoa. Actual variety? I mean, granted, it still uses another world, but at least it didn't end in it. So, tell me, what is it about? A teenage girl gets isekai'd into a world where she has an OP ability that makes the kingdom revere her as a hero as she tries to live an easygoing life despite knowing that's not happening due to said ability. Wow! Yeah, this one's bad, but it's a special kind of bad, one you don't lose sleep over. Frankly, it's a milquetoast story with very little memorable points to it that it actually stands out in 2023's lineup. It's kind of amazing actually. For the non-isekai adventures, there were the Iceblade Sorcerer Shall Rule the World, a very standard Magic Academy show not really worth getting into, and Nengen Fushin, which shares the initials with Nihilist Fantasy, which is basically the same thing. But the two shows that I was looking forward to were something truly special. Spy Classroom is a fun spy adventure with cute girls doing, well, spy stuff. It's funny, intense, and a good mystery-filled tale of a bunch of rejects and failures getting their dues one mission at a time. Each of the girls are very likable, and either have interesting backstories, psychologies, or both, though I do wish some of them had as much attention on them as others, but overall, it was a good time. But by far, the one show I was absolutely hyped for was... Tomo-chan is a Girl is a rom-com about a tomboy, and I already bought the Nendoroid. Yep, if you know me or follow me on my Twitter, which you should totally do, maybe it'll give me a reason to go on that godforsaken site, you know I am a tomboy connoisseur. Haruhi, Tatsuki, Momoe, impeccable. This does include Tomo-chan, whose respective manga is one of my personal favorites, if not just for Tomo. So, after what felt like forever, what did I think about the much anticipated anime adaptation? It was good. Perfectly fine. Yeah, as much as I hate to admit it, the story of Tomo-chan is pretty bare bones, especially at the beginning parts of the plot. It's about the titular tomboy getting inadvertently bro-zoned by her idiot friend. That's the story and the comedy of the whole anime. Granted, there are good moments of drama and subtlety like plenty of other rom-coms, but they're not big or impactful enough to leave a harrowing impression. Truthfully, if rom-coms aren't for you, it's another one to pass over. But if you do like them, and or are a person of culture, by all means, take a look at it because it is still good. Like, it's nothing too special, but the animation, writing, and pacing are still pretty solid. And of course, Tomboy, which again, I will forfeit all mortal possessions for. And you should too. In addition to a new Pokémon series, Spring's anime run saw the lateral raise of Shonen Jump's new kid on the blockhead, Mashle, a pretty funny parody of the Magic School setup, and Summoned to Another World again, a pretty mediocre telling of the Isekai formula with such a confusing localized title. There are a lot of question titles out there, but this one makes you sound more like an unsure dumbass. Summoned to Another World again? Speaking of dumbasses, the legendary hero is dead follows one who's zombified into stealing the identity of a generic fantasy protagonist, and yes, it's just as ridiculous as it sounds. Hey, did you like the Mamako show, but thought there was too much MILF? If you're this guy, probably not. Try out My One Hit Kill Sister, which is basically that, but with less Okasan and more One-san. For the romance-oriented shows, you have the good, the bad, and the oh yeah, that was also a thing. My Clueless First Friends is a wholesome dive into how a boy's denseness actually helps a girl out more than aggravates her. It's cute, bubbly, and scratches that need for puppy love romance. On the other side of things, the Cafe Terrans and his goddesses is what happens when you just let squatters squat. Everyone's kind of a terrible person, even the cute tomboy.
Betrayal.
The guy's an asshole, and the girls don't have a legal right to invade his home. But, you know, as long as they're cute, they can abuse him and the legal system all they want. It's their birthright, I guess. And then there's Rokuru's Bad Girls, a show I forgot I even watched before writing the script. This is just an average adaptation for a decent manga, and that's really it. It's not horrible, it's just forgettable, which is a different kind of bad. I mean, sure, the Cafe Terrans is awful, but at least I remember how much I hate it. But with that, there was one more romance I wanted to talk about. Skippin' Loafer is a heartfelt dramedy that doesn't feel like it at first. It's actually more accurate to call it a bilge roman about a rural girl learning her way around urban social circles. There's a fascinating melancholy on the themes of maturing, adapting to an unfamiliar environment, and the evolving social construct in modern society. Stack that on top of a funny lead character with a uniquely plain design that is hard to forget about or describe in full faithfulness. It's one of those unassuming shows that doesn't quite get the attention it deserves, but those who do watch it really like it. And to add to that point, I actually didn't watch it during this original run. I binged it afterwards. And that's a shame because I feel like that there's a lot of people out there who were and are in that same position and just simply forgot about it. But it is worth it. But you wanna know what I did watch instead of Skippin' Loafer? This dumb shit. Chronicles of an Aristocrat Reborn in Another World is a dull addition to the aristocratic isekai subgenre that has a certain point that makes me irrationally angry. But we'll get there. The story is about a boy who reincarnates into a kid who blah blah blah, kingdom's greatest weapon. Everything about this show is aggravatingly simple. The characters are simple, the story is simple, the writing and storyboarding are a mess. You know every beat and every plot point that's gonna happen, you just have to wait for it. But the actual offender of why this story has no common sense lies in the female characters. The main character is a pushover who can't find some excuse to stay away from the girls who are interested in him. They use this leverage to practically blackmail him into engagements at the orders of their idiot fathers. And he just takes it. No negotiating or offering his side of the story. No, he's just blocked in a lifetime commitment because he had to be a white knight. And you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, that's bad, but at least the girls are interesting or funny or something, right? Let me tell you, they aren't. They are practically pointless aside from being moe trash cans that isekai mech protag can spew his feelings into. I can guarantee you that no one will remember their names like 5 minutes after they leave the screen. Christ, if you want me to watch a manipulative piece of shit, at least make it interesting. Yeah, that'll do, yeah, okay, yeah. Oshi no Ko was the spring anime to watch out for, and in my and a lot of others' opinions, it was worth it. The story about a reincarnated doctor turned son of an idol, searching for his father and possible killer of his mother while his sister wished to be an idol herself, became nothing short of a phenomenon. With a chilling atmosphere looming over a grim mystery about the hardships and the turmoils of the entertainment industry, it was impossible not to talk about it. Pair that with excellent animation and pacing by Sentai Filmworks with the vocal stylings of many talented VAs and singers like Rie Takahashi and YOASOBI, and is a digital goldmine. But what I really think sets Oshi no Ko apart from being a standard mystery series is the attitude. There's a cruel, nearly sociopathic outlook on everything through the star-studded eyes of the main character Aqua, which is counterbalanced by his sister's optimistic but hard-working one, as well as the dual environments seen in the industry. It sheds light on the dark side of entertainment while using one's own pragmatism to survive and uncover the truth in that world of cover-ups. The second season is still in development, and we'll have to wait and see if it can keep the crowd hyped. But if the manga's anything to go by, then hopefully it can still ride its wave. Summer was the season of seasons. Spy Classroom Season 2, Horimiya, Bleach, The Great Ninja War, Rent a Reason to Live, Devil is Still Working Entry Level, Shin Mushoku Tensei, more of the pre-existing to pile onto. And it was hard to miss the most awaited anime of the season, Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. Well, this is a bit awkward. Yep, despite this video being titled My 2023 in Anime, I mentioned Jujutsu Kaisen without actually having watched it. Get baited. It's not because I hate it or anything, I just didn't have the time or plainly forgot about it. But regardless of those excuses, I still couldn't get away from the thousands of clips of animation on the internet anyway, so in a way, I was subjected to it regardless of my wants. This cutaway is just an affirmation telling you, yes, I know Jujutsu Kaisen exists. Please don't curse me. But while we're on the subject of animation quality, the girl I like forgot her glasses had that in spades, where you could literally see the particle effects of dust in the light, giving anyone with a major astigmatism a headache. Then there was Zom 100, my personal most anticipated of the season. Based on the manga, my opinion of the tale of drifters coasting through the zombie apocalypse one bucket list item at a time was full of optimism and hype. And yeah, not only did they deliver on the spectacular animation quality for the action and emotional scenes, but actually, that's about it. I personally don't find a problem with the story or the writing, I very much enjoyed it all the way through, but it's not exactly empty of faults either, particularly with the production side of things. Frankly, I am glad they churned out a decent show I would buy a physical copy of, and at the end of the day, it's the final product that should be evaluated to an extent. But on the other hand, there does need to be more structure with organization in the behind the scenes. But I guess it's better than what goes on at Sweet Reincarnation was an overdose of sweetness without the pleasure, while Liar Liar was, I don't know, some boring shit about school and games or something. The only reason I watched it was to play this clip. Stop breaking the law, asshole! And for other isekai, there were two hard choices to make. Be a vending machine, or be a girl boss. It was a very tough decision. The most heretical Last Boss Queen was a very standard villainous tale that's seemingly becoming more popular, and we'll address that soon, while Reborn as a vending machine was less conventional by means of the fact that the MC is a, vending machine. Do you think? It's a decent show with an odd premise, but the novelty wears quickly, so don't go into it expecting more than what you pay for. And Hulk was a surprise on my radar, being both a funny and intriguing dive into the hero joins the bad guys formula. Honestly, I'm still watching it as of this video, but hopefully it has something to report on later because I don't hear people talk about it, and sometimes that's not a good thing. But you know what people did report back on? I know it's not anime, but it's One Piece. I kind of have to talk about it a little. The One Piece live-action adaptation took the world by pirate storm, and for good reason. It's simply good. Adapting to live-action isn't easy, and for One Piece, you might as well write it off as a Hollywood cash grab. But they really put it all into it. From directors and writers who love the source material, to the actors doing their damnedest to portray faithful but unique versions of the characters, to massive and impressive set and lighting designs. It's not just a translation done right, it's one done with passion and consideration for the fans. With Season 2 in development, there's no way around this grand line that they've drawn. It may just be a new world for the whole live-action circuit. Okay, that was just a little mini spiel about the better than normally done live-action One Piece. But now back to the anime. And we're actually going to go into fall. So, what's our next stop? Peak. The 100 Girlfriends Who Really Love You is an over-the-top, flamboyant, insane, part genuine, part satire piece of work that exists. It's incredibly stupid, but it already knows that, and it's more about the absurdity of being insane enough to date so many women, and superhuman enough to have the ability to. It's just dumb fun, and nothing else really tops that, not that they try anyway. Skill issue. I don't know what it is about shows about dating gals, but this sure is a trend. Our dating story is one of them. Speaking of trends, villainesses. I'm in Love with a Villainess is about a redditor getting weird with their target of affection. So, Tuesday, I guess. And Tear Moon Empire is about the rewinding of a villainess failing upward without even knowing it. For someone else failing upward but actually competent enough to acknowledge it, there's The Apothecary Diaries, a show about a Chinese apothecary who's kidnapped and ends up working as a lucrative taste tester, herb expert, and resident weirdo for the concubine commune. It's a fun story with excellent animation, but falls to the wayside by mostly standard characters and a rich but unremarkable atmospheric pull. The big saving grace to it is Mao Mao, the leading lady. Now, it is still airing while I'm making this video, so hopefully I'm proven a fool in the coming weeks, but if not... Sorry I didn't knock on wood. I guess I could do it now. For the more family-oriented, there's the wholesome My Daughter Left the Nest and Returned an Esoteric Adventurer, and the not quite as wholesome Family Circumstances of the Irregular Witch. One of these has bloodshed and the other has suggestive overtones. I Shall Survive Using Potions was a story in the same vein of a girl being mega OP in a fantasy world like Land of Leodale, Kuma 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 Bear, and earlier saving 8,000 gold, but this time with potions for any kind of ailment, except for one that can make me forget about how much time I wasted watching it. Shy is basically what happens when you put a Hitori Bochi character in Izuku Midoriya's place, and is far more underrated than I thought it'd be. After all, it's a Hitori Bochi, as a Deku. That's like two things the anime community loves fanficking about. And lastly, we're on the final anime for today. And if you thought Jujutsu Kaisen or Oshi no Ko were inescapable, you were right, but this one was also a plague on the World Wide Web. Beyond Journey's End is the After Happily Ever After to one of the members of the Heroes Party, and that's basically all I know. Yep, I didn't watch this one either. It seemed like another ethereal fantasy story like Kino's Journey or Wandering Witch. I mean, that's cool and all, but I've seen it before. But because I don't want to get too crucified in the comments, I guess I'll go ahead and watch one episode. What the fuck was I missing? Yep, like Frieren to a Mimic, they got me. It's funny because my initial evaluation of the show hasn't really changed. It is another slow, atmospheric fantasy, but that's why I'm so drawn to it. It reminds me of why I love these kinds of stories. It's an incorporeal journey, one of highs, lows, happier times, and bouts of sadness. But when put into the hands of an open, unscrupulous world, it's all the more engaging by the standards set by Frieren and the expectations of her younger party members. Frieren's unchanging look versus her changing outlook on the mortal life makes her one of the more compelling characters of the year, as time does make its mark on her in a more internal way. Plus, she's a pretty entertaining character on her own. Though I can't help but feel like I felt her presence before somewhere else. Oh right, yeah. It's still airing right now, and it's starting to lose its steam to the newest shows of the winter season, but as the anime shows, this is not how you finish, it's how you get there. And that's my 2023 in anime. And whatever my feelings on them, I still value them as a nice point in my anime watching life. In retrospect, this year wasn't all too different from others. We had great new series to look forward to, fascinating underdogs to root for, laughable overshots to judge, and impactful shows ending or just getting started to marinate in the community conscience. From the mysteries on stage and in the palace, to the schools of kids being kids, villainous succeeding, harems forming, and many other worlds being conquered, it certainly was an eventful time. And those were the main ones I wanted to discuss, or could rather joke about. If I missed one, or just didn't talk about it, let me know what shows you think I should see. I'm open to all suggestions, and I am kind of curious what my audience is watching too. But now, if you'll excuse me, I should probably get back to meeting my quota for next year's video. We're off to a great start.